We're going to start today's session with a conversation with Anupam Rastogi from Emergent Ventures. Anupam, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Samana, and good morning, everyone.
Anupam, let's start by getting you acquainted with our audience and talk a little bit about how you position your fund. But before that, a little bit of your own background of how you arrived at Emergent Ventures.
Sure, yeah. So, Anupam Rastogi. I'm based here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've been in the technology space for a very long time now, and in terms of academic background, studied engineering, computer science back in the 90s, and came over to the US. I grew up in India, came over to the US in the year 2000, and started a career on the operating side in research and then product management and go-to-market roles at a larger company, and then a couple of startups, which was super exciting. These startups eventually had good outcomes, and during that time, realized that I wanted to actually work for multiple startups at once, and that's how I decided to get into venture, and have been in venture the last 12 or so years, and then I can share more about Emergent. We are a seed and early stage venture firm based here in the Bay Area, and we focus. We write a first check at the early stages, very early stages, pre-seed, seed, sometimes post-seed rounds, and we lead those rounds. Typically, these are $1 to $4 million type rounds, and we're focused on the B2B space broadly, and then within that, companies that are focused on what we call intelligent software that gets smarter with use, often is leveraging AI data in a smarter manner, and it could be either across any number of business workflows, or in an industry vertical, or at the infrastructure layer. So that's what we do, and we have a portfolio of about 35 companies. We're investing actively out of our Fund 2.
Okay. Anupam, I'm going to drill a little bit on trying to understand this more specifically, how to work with you. First, how big is your Fund 2 right now?
Yeah, so we manage about $140 million. Our Fund 2 is a $76 million fund.
Okay. And you said you write checks between $1 to $3 million first check. What do you need to see in a company? How do you define pre-seed, seed, post-seed, whatever, but what needs to be in the company for you to feel comfortable writing a check?
Yeah. And I should clarify, the round sizes we come in are $1 to $3 million. Our own check could be between $1 to $1.5 million, most often, to start with, and then we continue backing these companies as we see more, as they make more progress. But yeah, to answer your question, what do we need to see? And these rounds names have moved around quite a lot, and different people use different terminologies. But we are, one thing we do is we are fairly comfortable coming in very early. Typically, I'd say our typical entry point tends to be a company which may have, and we are focused on the enterprise space. So these companies often have maybe an MVP, maybe they have spoken with customers, maybe they have some pilots. We're not looking for revenues or momentum at the stage we are coming in at. But really, I'd say the things we're looking for are much more qualitative at the stage we come in at. Team is by far one of the most important things we are focused on. And in the few weeks that we are trying to get to know entrepreneurs more deeply, when we are assessing these companies and they are assessing us, we're trying to really understand the trajectory of these entrepreneurs, of the founders. What are their motivations? We're trying to understand a lot of qualitative areas like resilience, ability to just plow through walls, and then of course their how well do they know the space? What's their level of passion? Then the other big area is of course understanding the market and market readiness of the idea itself, and that has many different parts to it. So we often introduce prospective investee companies to folks from our network who could be customers, or who could be advisors, or are in the space, and we sit through those meetings, and that gives us a flavor for is there a market need for a product like this? What are the customers using today? What are the pain points? Are they willing to switch to something new? What would it take to have them, pay for this? What would they pay? We're trying to get a sense for some of those things. And I'd say the third big area, which is really key, which is often under the, it's like the iceberg, but under the water level often, is that, we're also filtering for, do we understand the space and can we add value? And are we passionate about this? That, given that at the seed stage, we end up maybe seeing a very large number of deals and we are only able to do 5 or 6, given that we are a conviction-driven investor. So we are looking for that, essentially we are mutually self-filtering for that, where we have high passion, and the entrepreneur typically sees that when we are working with them on the evaluation, that we have high passion and understanding of the space.
And so I'm kind of reading your response to my question as you don't do concept stage, but you do pre-revenue stage ventures, yes?
Yeah, so we do some concept stage as well. So we have done several companies which were, 1 or 2 or 3 founders and a PowerPoint at that stage. So I'd say everything from there to early revenues. That's sort of the range of stages that we do.
Okay. Could you elaborate on what would it take for you to do concept stage? Because we see very few investors doing concept stage. So when we find one, we try to understand what is what are the criteria that you're looking for?
Yeah. So I'd say along with the other criteria that I mentioned at the concept stage, we are really looking to see also how much market development the founder has done. So oftentimes, even before you build a product, you can go talk to, we come across entrepreneurs who have gone spoken with 20, 30, 50 customers, and they've processed that information in a, structured manner, at least in their heads, and they figured out what the needs are, and they can talk to, it's not based on just one empirical experience or experience of 1 or 2 people. It's often based on the experience of 20, 30, 50 people. And I'd say the bar on the other areas goes a bit higher at concept stage. So, some of the usual areas like the domain expertise and prior background that the entrepreneurs have in that space. What kind of a network do they have in that space? Can they crack into some of those customer accounts, leadership skills, resilience? So a lot of the things are the same, but at the concept stage, the only thing I guess which I mentioned was that market development is one recommendation I would give to entrepreneurs. Is that really helps a lot, and it'll help you really, the entrepreneurs, really figure out as well if the idea is something you want to do, first of all, and second, often it helps you pivot into specific pockets. New sub ideas come out of it, or you figure out that, hey, maybe what you're originally thinking is maybe not the best thesis, but hey, here is another related problem that comes out of that exercise. So I'd say that could probably be a big differentiating factor at that stage, at the concept stage.
I'll just for the benefit of the audience, I would summarize what I've heard, and that probably is relevant to this discussion from some of your colleagues. Market development, as you said, and kind of pre-validating the market. Often in concept stage deals, the founder or the founder's team come with a pretty solid understanding and domain knowledge of the problem domain that they are going into. And much of the market development is because of that domain knowledge and the domain relationships. And then often people who are doing concept stage ventures are assuming that with that domain knowledge, the product can be built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. And what about geography? What's corridor? Is it the India-US corridor that's your primary mode of activity?
So we are focused on companies which have US as a primary focus market, and they could be building product anywhere else, either in other parts of US, outside of the main tech hubs, or places like India, or it could be Europe or other places. But we like this model, and we've been doing this for the past 5+ years, even before the pandemic. That's been our key focus. Is what that does is a dollar could go 3, 4, 5 times further in if you're building teams and products in these other places. And that's not just a cost advantage. It actually ends up being a a very significant unfair advantage, if you will, where you can build 3 to 5 times more product for the same $2 million seed round or a 10 or 15 million Series A. That just can, you can serve customers better for the same amount of money, which then helps companies just become market leaders more quickly. So that's been our thesis, and we are open to companies from any part of the country or the world, but with a keen focus on the US as the core market. And we do have a fair number of companies which are in the US India, which have the US India model with US go to market and tech teams in India. We also have companies that have teams in places like Germany, Nebraska, Austin, Atlanta, a lot of other emerging tech hubs.
Great. So Anupam, let's do some case studies. Pick some of your favorite companies that are representative of how you invest, and tell us how you met them, how they came to you. What did they have that gave you conviction to write the checks? So maybe let's do 2 or 3 of these examples.
Sure. So yeah, maybe I will pick a few companies. One of our companies that is on a good trajectory is a company called Observe.ai, which is in the which does contact center automation, and that was a very early stage investment. It was pre-seed. Essentially, it was concept stage at that time, and we made that investment in 2017. My partner led that deal, and yeah, so the company does now is really they're helping automate more of the customer contact center experience. So whenever you call a call center, there's a agent that you're looking to speak with, and that experience has a lot of friction areas within it. Not a lot of people end up being happy with that today. Corporations end up spending a lot of money on it, and the people that are actually serving those calls don't have a lot of good tools. So Observe is really helping solve some of those issues by they have a voice AI solution that can listen into calls and can pick up issues around quality and compliance and other areas. And they've built vertical AI, which goes a lot deeper than any other horizontal AI for this specific type of these type of use cases in the contact center. And that company has been on a very good trajectory since then. They are now about 4 or 5 years, and so they have hundreds of enterprise customers now across different industries. They've raised a lot more capital. They are 200 employees. Very strong product market with very high growth rates. And yeah, what we saw at that time was really very high quality team. So it's basically the 3 things I'd laid out earlier with the team side, lot to like about the team. The founder was previously an engineer at Twitter, and but they developed a very keen understanding of they were coming from the technology side at that time, and they developed a keen understanding of the space they're trying to target and how they'll solve these problems. And the specific use case morphed a bit over time. But yeah, that's one company that is further along for Emergent. And maybe, yeah, I'll talk about a more recent investment, a younger company. This is an unannounced company in the privacy space. They're helping developers, develop code that is more privacy friendly. There's a lot of these regulations that have come up, including GDPR in Europe, CCPA, and others, where you need to be careful about what data is being stored, how it's being stored, and how it's being processed. And developers often have to manually think about that, and they may not necessarily want to educate themselves fully on all these regulations. So this company has built a set of scanners which can go through code to understand what the privacy implications may be, and that has a lot of intelligence around understanding what libraries are getting called and how the data is being stored. And so yeah, we co-led a seed round there, and yeah, they had good set of So this was, I'd say, slightly beyond the idea stage, more at the pilot stage. They had a set of customers they already began talking to, and we connected them to several people from our network who are close to the space, sat through some of those meetings, and got a good handle that this seemed like a very wide need. Uh, and everyone agreed that, hey, if there's a tool like this, we would love to try it out because this is a key hot button topic right now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then we also liked how the entrepreneurs were sort of taking that feedback and processing it, and they were able to sort of articulate their vision to prospective customers, and and then also how they're thinking of the long-term vision. So often that's one thing we see is marrying that short-term value proposition to customers versus the long-term vision, and doing that in a one is much more focused on here and now, the other is maybe looking further out and a little amorphous. And if you're able to do that convincingly, I think that helps. So yeah, we were seeing many of those aspects there, and so yeah, we led around there recently. So yeah, those are two examples.
So my last question is a trend question. Um, you know, this the B2B, enterprise B2B as well as SMB B2B tech, deep tech space has been, AI in particular, has been very hot for several years now. What are you seeing now that is new trends, or where do you think we are going vis-a-vis this market?
Yeah. So I'd say, we are really starting to see, first of all, taking a step back, I'd say I see the AI-led software approach as you could think of it as a fourth wave of software after, maybe if you take mainframe computing, on-premise computing, cloud and SaaS. Each of those waves
Mm-hmm.
has been, multi-decade, maybe 2 to 3 decade long trend, and the other trend then gets superimposed on that, and then each of those waves has been much larger, order of magnitude larger than the previous one. So cloud-based software has created over 100 public SaaS companies, over
Yeah.
median valuation over maybe between 5 and 10 billion, many over 100 billion. So we see AI-led software is probably in year 5 or year 7 of a maybe 20, 30-year trend where it's going to just go deeper and deeper. And it's going to be well beyond just replacing existing software. What it's doing today already, we're starting to see uh, early signs of that, is that it's just reinventing how business is done, whether it's sales, marketing, finance,
Yeah.
customer service. A lot of those flows, which were entirely human led, and a lot of people were doing a lot of mundane manual work on some of those things. Software can take up a lot of those mundane parts of those, how those activities are done. And this is more at a micro level, not the entire function, but much more specific pieces there, and let the humans then be a lot more efficient with their work and focus more on the, tasks that require judgment and creativity and more softer skills. So that's the product theme, and we continue to see, more and more sort of, the wedges. You initially get in with a smaller wedge, and then it just sort of you can keep growing it. So that's what we are seeing, is that so across actually most of those functions, we are seeing a lot of activity now where you start with a certain wedge, and then over time the idea is to just reinvent how uh, this is done. I'll give you maybe another example. There's a company called Present where we are investors, and they're looking to reinvent how business communications are done, specifically in the context of business presentations, how those are created.
Mm-hmm.
And today, you start with an empty PowerPoint or a Google slides, and then you're trying to each time just start a new presentation or just start with an old presentation. But then there's already so much data out there. There's only so many types of presentations, and there's proven best ways of communicating certain ideas. So this company leverages AI and a lot of data on millions of slides to really help you get started. With you just let the system know that, hey, I'm creating a presentation for a sales operations meeting, and I like a visual presentation, and I like it to be more data driven, and so on and so forth. And it just creates a flow for you, which is going to be much more impactful than what you may have, when anyone, like, there's hundreds of millions of workers today who are creating presentations, and what they would have done. So yeah, this is just an example, but a company like this could just reinvent if things go well, how business communications are authored. So similarly, we have a lot of companies that are reinventing sales or marketing or specific industry verticals is another area where we're seeing a lot of intelligence software within areas like logistics, supply chain. We have a company that's reinventing the media and entertainment industry and how content is procured and found. Uh, we're also seeing a lot of, let's say another trend maybe I'll call out is a lot of companies which are trying to now build meta software, if you will, either software which helps you figure out which software to use or software that actually helps you write software. We're starting to see folks do that. So a lot of low code, no code, but also
Yeah.
software, authoring software, and then dashboards which help you manage all this data, which has now, with multiplicity of different tools and dashboards, other dashboards or intelligence software that brings together all of that and helps you actually act on it. So lots of different areas of activity across the spectrum, I would say.
What about this craze about metaverse these days? Do you see that being relevant in the B2B realm?
So I'd say we haven't, I'd say, yeah, not in the, given that we're focused on the enterprise and B2B side, uh, we haven't, I'd say, in the core focused on that, but on the periphery, we are starting to see, some overlaps. For example, I mentioned we have a company which is in the media and entertainment supply chain
Yeah.
space. So we're starting to see providers there. There's about 500,000, content producers of scale overall globally. And this company indexes all of that using AI and what services they provide. So, it's called Vitrina, and companies like that would be often, from a content as more VR and metaverse content gets created, there'll be overlaps there. But I would say, yeah, that's not a core focus area for us. So just following that segment more from afar, I would say.
Great. All right. Well, I look forward to doing some work with you in the upcoming months and years. Thank you for sharing what you're doing and all the trends that you're seeing here today.